Hi there, and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Therapist podcast. I'm your host, Shulamit Ber-Levtov, and I'm the Entrepreneur's Therapist. You can call me Shula for short, and my pronouns are she, hers. This is the podcast for business owners, solopreneurs, micropreneurs, freelancers, and self-employed folks who want support for riding the emotional roller coaster of running a business. I'm on a mission to mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis and transform the entrepreneurial ecosystem to include you, the whole human founder, as a business priority. I do that through this podcast, of course, and also through speaking, teaching, and consulting, and by supporting women business owners to prevent burnout and preserve their peace of mind as they ride the emotional roller coaster of running a business in an era of relentless stressors that can make you want to lose your crap on the daily. This podcast is being recorded on lands that have been stewarded for 10,000 years and to this day by the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. Land acknowledgements are calls to action from Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And this is your call to action to find out whose land you're on and, at the very least, to share that information with others, but also to take what other actions you can toward reconciliation, because the harms caused by settler colonialism are ongoing. Today's topic is about business indecision. So I talked about stress and a mind shift change that can reduce your stress in the last episode. But stress, one of the impacts of stress is that it can make it hard for you to make decisions. Almost everyone has had trouble with indecision at one time or another, stress or no stress, business owner or not. A 1991 study found that about 20% of the adult population struggles to make decisions. Making decisions is always a cognitive challenge because you have to weigh your options, and that takes both time and energy, and also focus. Business owners may find decision making even harder than non-business owners because we're faced with large and small decisions many times a day. And the decisions we face often have more at stake as far as outcomes go than those of non-entrepreneurs. So one of the causes of indecision is overwhelm. The sheer number of decisions we have to make in a day can be daunting. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, your body, mind, brain can engage the stress response, the fight, flight, freeze, collapse response. And then your brain can be directing its energy toward survival responses, immediate, in the moment responses. Your CEO self, so to speak, can go offline. Now, your CEO self is how I describe your executive functioning, and that includes all the skills and capacities you need as a chief executive officer, in other words, to run your business, including the capacity to take in and synthesize information and make decisions. Complexity and pressure also play a role. If it's a complex decision, it's harder to make. And if there's a lot riding on it, that also adds to the sense of being overwhelmed. So here are some tips to help you when you're feeling overwhelmed and having trouble making a decision. You've heard me say this a lot, and I'll say it again. Being kind and gentle to yourself in the moment as a first intervention can make a big difference. Sometimes affirming your difficulty and the good reasons that it's difficult can help. You can say something to yourself like, of course I'm having a hard time. What I'm trying to do is difficult. It's okay for me to be stuck right now. And that can be enough to get your CEO self back on track so you can make the decision at hand. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you can get help. If there are decisions you can delegate, then do so. Consider working with a virtual assistant or an online business manager. It can also help to talk your decision dilemma over with someone you trust, like your biz bestie, your coach, your therapist. These things, having support from others and talking it over with them can help reduce your overwhelm. Supporting your nervous system can also help. When you're feeling overwhelmed, your nervous system is dysregulated. It can help to bring your CEO self back online by discharging, soothing, or nourishing your nervous system. And if this doesn't ring a bell, there's a link in the show notes so you can find out what it means to soothe, discharge, and nourish your nervous system so that you can try those approaches. Doing this doesn't have to take long to soothe, discharge, or nourish your nervous system can sometimes take 5 minutes. That can just be it. Once you've engaged some self-care to support your nervous system and bring your CEO self back online, then you can come back to the decision. Or if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, maybe it's okay to walk away for a moment. You could plan another time to make the decision. Maybe there's just too much on your plate for today, and putting it off for a day, a specific day where you plan it on your calendar, not saying, oh, I'll do that another day, but specifically making a plan for when I have a time in my calendar when I'm going to have more resources, and scheduling that decision on that day when you're less stressed, or a time when you are fresher, like maybe first thing tomorrow morning, might help make the decision easier. So sometimes we have a hard time making decisions because we're experiencing decision fatigue. And again, there's a link for more information about decision fatigue, how it shows up, what it is, in the show notes. But this can also be a factor when you have difficulty making decisions. The more decisions you make in the course of a day, the more your brain tires out and the harder and harder it can be to make subsequent decisions. So here are 3 tips that you can use to help with decision fatigue. Just like when you're overwhelmed, you can schedule another time to make this decision when you have more capacity and when you're fresher, your mind is fresher. Another approach is to schedule your big decisions first for when you're at your freshest. And another one is to talk the decision over with your therapist, coach, or trusted biz bestie. Again, if you're feeling like your capacity is limited, getting support increases your capacity and makes it easier to do what you need to do. Now, there are other causes of indecision, but according to psychological research literature, the causes of indecisiveness are largely unknown. But indecisiveness is associated in the literature with various mental health conditions and personality types. So, for example, if you have ADHD or ADD, I like to call those attention dysregulation disorder, because I don't know about you, my issue is not that I have a deficit of attention. What I struggle with is regulating my attention, putting it where I want it to be in a particular, or where it needs to be in a particular time. So this kind of neurodiversity can affect your capacity to make decisions, as can depression, burnout, anxiety, and also PTSD. If you're struggling to make a decision, I'm not saying that you must have one of these diagnoses, but it's something to be curious about if none of the other things that I've discussed really fit. In all of these cases, it's important to contact a mental health or medical professional for appropriate support to help you identify if this is indeed what's going on with you and can help you address these underlying causes. Because if there's something driving your indecisiveness, then to address the symptom, which is the struggle to make decisions, without addressing the underlying cause, would only be a band-aid and will be limited in its effectiveness. Indecisiveness associated with depression or burnout is so common that it's included as a symptom of major depressive disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. So again, if this sounds like you, be sure to check it out. If it is you and you want some tips, again, it's important to talk to a mental health or medical professional to get a diagnosis if that's relevant, and to get support that addresses the depression or burnout itself. You might find that there's so much more at play than you think, and addressing these issues could alleviate many of the challenges you're facing, including trouble making decisions. Burnout, while not a medical diagnosis, is recognized by the World Health Organization as a work-related syndrome, or syndrome in plain English means a group of symptoms that appear together under certain circumstances. So, and burnout, as identified by the World Health Organization, has significant health and mental health impacts, including difficulty making decisions. And so again, this is a situation in which you should consult with someone if you think that you're having burnout. so that you can address the associated cognitive dysfunctions that can make decision-making difficult, along with everything else, because you deserve to thrive. You deserve to recover from burnout and to thrive. So if you're not sure what burnout is, there's a link in the show notes to a description of burnout so that you can check it out for yourself. Anxiety can also be a cause of indecision. When you're feeling anxious, your body's stress response kicks in, and the physiology of the stress response provides everything you need to address the demand or threat, but disengages the capacity or the direction of energy toward your executive functions, your CEO self, which supports your ability to make decisions. So if you're struggling to make decisions and you think it's because of anxiety, here are a few things that you can do in the moment to help yourself. Oh, sorry, there are a few things you can do in the moment to help yourself, and I'll tell you about those in a moment. But if it's not anxiety related to a specific situation, but rather anxiety that you experience on an ongoing basis, it's important to talk to a mental health or medical professional to be diagnosed if that's your situation, and to get support that addresses the anxiety itself. But if this is not the case with you and you're just having anxiety from time to time or anxiety in this moment, the tips below can give you a hand. But if you have the underlying diagnosis of anxiety, just be aware that the tips below will only be temporary and limited in their effect. But you can give them a try and see what happens. That might help you understand how your anxiety is working. So again, getting help can make a big difference in trouble making decisions. If you can delegate the decisions, then do so. Reducing stress and pressure reduces anxiety and facilitates the cognitive function that you need to make decisions. Again, you can consider working with a virtual assistant or an online business manager, and it can also help to talk your decision dilemma over with your therapist, coach, or trusted biz bestie. Again, you can support your nervous system when you're feeling anxious. Again, your stress response impedes your decision making, and it can help to discharge, soothe, or nourish your nervous system. And also, moving your body can be especially effective at alleviating anxiety so you can get back to the decision at hand. There are many other potential causes of inability to make a decision, in addition to those above. So some psychological causes of indecision might be fear of failure, lack of confidence, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and these are all things that need care so they can release themselves and free your ability to make decisions, and they're best addressed with someone who can support you in moving through these issues and caring for yourself and your beliefs and past experiences that lead to these psychological issues, with someone who's trained to help you, like a therapist. These tendencies towards perfectionism, people-pleasing, fear of failure, lack of confidence often arise from situations earlier in our lives that have led to certain ways of thinking and behaving. And it doesn't have to be childhood. It could be a couple of years ago. And these ways of thinking and behaving were adaptive at the time. So it's important to appreciate their usefulness at that time. But the fact that they inhibit your decision-making now means they aren't serving you anymore. And so in order to be an effective decision maker today, it's worth working with a therapist to look into, care for, and release the emotions, thoughts, and behaviors associated with those previous situations. Now, there may be some strategic causes of indecisiveness. Above and beyond the mental health issues, there might be strategic issues in your business that are making it hard for you to make decisions. For example, there might be a lack of information, and this is a relatively easy fix. You could either do some research to gather more information or seek support from your coach or therapist to identify and or gather the information you need to make the decision. A lack of decision-making frameworks can be a strategic cause for difficulty making a decision. Decision-making frameworks or processes support decision-making, and this was an insight that I got from my friend and colleague, Christine Rico, who's the CFO on Speed Dial. If there are decisions you routinely make, such as hiring, for example, having a process or a framework in place can make the task cognitively easier and eases the difficulty associated with these complex kind of decisions. Too much information can be a cause of indecision. Sometimes, especially if you're new at your business or feeling nervous, you can do too much research, ask too many people for their opinion or information. And in cases like this, it's best to choose one or two trusted people to whom you go for information and advice. When you have the impulse to go for more information, to ask for more opinions, you can remind yourself that you've chosen these one or two people for a reason, usually because they support you and your goals and are aligned in values, and limit yourself to asking them. Of course, your own good sense should always take precedence when making decisions, regardless of what these trusted others say. Another strategic cause of indecisiveness might be that you don't know your end goal. If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to make decisions along the way. Getting clear on your goals can make it easier to make a decision. And, getting clear on your goals can be hard. It can be overwhelming. And so you can ask for support from your coach, your biz bestie, your therapist, your mastermind group, your peer support group. Because if you're struggling to do this on your own, there's nothing wrong with you. It's a hard thing to do, and getting support can make you stronger. Finally, lack of experience might be a cause of indecisiveness. If you've never been in this situation, it can be difficult to know what to do. And this is, again, where support really matters. Talk to others who face this issue, to your mentor, your coach, your therapist, or a biz bestie in order to get the support to figure out what's going on and what you're going to do. Thanks for listening. This podcast is brought to you by my self-guided virtual retreat. You can create your customized plan for your mental and emotional well-being as a business owner so that your CEO stays in the driver's seat and you don't flip your lid and blow up your business when the crap hits the fan, like you're feeling stressed out and can't make decisions. This can be hard on your mental health. Running a business is extraordinarily stressful. As whole humans who own small businesses, a mental health plan should be a part of your business strategy. You can boost your business and yourself with a mental health plan. Purchase the self-guided mental health plan virtual retreat today. It's $99 and includes a workshop recording, an enhanced PDF transcript, and worksheets. The link is entrepreneurstherapist.click/mhplan. That link is in the description. I'm the Entrepreneur's Therapist, and I'm on a mission to mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis and transform the entrepreneurial ecosystem to include you, the whole human business owner, in business strategies, plans, and processes. If you've gotten something valuable from this episode, you can support my mission by sharing with friends you think need to hear this. Subscribing, rating, and reviewing also helps mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis by making it possible for this podcast to reach more stressed out entrepreneurs who need support, validation, and tools to help them care for their mental and emotional well-being in an era of relentless stressors that can make you lose your crap on the daily. Thanks again for listening. I look forward to connecting with you next time.